You weren't going to be here. I'm so confused. You were on assignment. Angela's on.
Brian. Kale was sick.
1 minute in time.
Right now, the National Weather Desk, monsoon season. Why was this such a dry year in the Southwest?
The monsoons are coming, and I'm like, where are the monsoons at?
Record rainfall. A look back on how all that rain flooded portions of New York City.
But this is the third time since I was sworn in 2 years ago I've had a once-in-a-century storm.
Fall colors. They may be showing up in northern areas, but not central Texas.
I've got one oak tree that's so stressed it's already dropped most of its leaves.
Halloween, still 4 weeks away, but some folks are thinking about Christmas trees.
The drought that we had early on in the summer affected the seedlings that we planted in the spring, of course.
And the most recent sighting of a wayward flamingo blown off course by Hurricane Idalia.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. We have less than 2 months left in hurricane season, and we are tracking developments in the Atlantic this morning. A one-time tropical storm has now dissipated, while tropical storm watches are posted for a second storm. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff is tracking all the action for us. Good morning, Brian.
And good morning, Angela. Yeah, one storm left out there in the Atlantic at this point. Philippe continues to churn out there. Winds at 50, gusting to 65. It is approaching the northern Leeward Islands, and there are currently tropical storm watches up for Antigua and Barbuda as we go through the day today. This system will continue to work its way to the west-northwest and will pass just to the east of Bermuda by the time it gets to the weekend. This is a long-lived system for sure. It could go back to gaining hurricane strength, but at this point should stay out to sea, which is some good news there. I want to show you some other good news as I look at the tropical Atlantic basin right now. There is not one storm out there in the whole basin right now or area of interest other than Philippe that the National Hurricane Center is looking at. So things are calming down, at least for the short term.
All right, thanks, Brian. In the meantime, it's going to be hotter than usual across much of the Plains, South, and Great Lakes regions. A high pressure system is making it feel more like August than October. Records fell this weekend and more will fall this week. We want to check in with our team of meteorologists across the region, starting in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Are you sure it's October and fall?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
I will say yesterday we broke a record. We had broken a record on Saturday as well, but 91 degrees, not only is that just hot anyway in October, it's actually the first time we've been in the 90s in October since 2006.
Oh my goodness.
So it's not something that happens.
88 in Green Bay, 88 in Appleton, 87 in Oshkosh, all of those, you see the little stars I put there, all of those were new records. Rhinelander set a record of 85 degrees, and well, you can see the temperatures there. They were very high yesterday. Today, these are the record highs that we're going for. 84 in Green Bay, 83 in Appleton, 85 in Oshkosh, and I'm anticipating we could get all of those records.
Highs today, lots of, 80s in the lower peninsula, 70s across much of the upper peninsula. But you can see what the records are like for today's date and tomorrow's date. We're going to be threatening records for today, tomorrow, and again on Wednesday. 3 days in a row, records are going to be threatened.
And the reason those highs won't continue on Thursday is that a cold front is coming. Temperatures across South and the nation's midsection are going to plummet. In the Great Lakes region, highs may only be in the low 50s. It will certainly feel like fall has finally arrived. And people in New York and southern New England will see hazy skies today because of wildfire smoke from Canada. New York State's Environmental Conservation Department is watching the situation and says it expects expects the air quality will be in the moderate range. That means the air will pose some risk to people who are, sensitive to air pollution. Health officials urge people to listen to their bodies, and if people begin to get a scratchy throat or even like watery eyes, they may want to head indoors. Friday's torrential rain flooded New York City, turning some streets into knee-deep canals. The good news is that no deaths were reported from the storm, but according to Governor Kathy Hochul, 28 people had to be rescued from raging water. She blames, of course, climate change for this and is urging New Yorkers to prepare for future storms.
This was the kind of rain that was once unimaginable. We called them once-in-a-century storms. But this is the third time since I was sworn in 2 years ago I've had a once-in-a-century storm.
And Brooklyn got more rain in 3 hours on Friday night than it gets in a month. The National Weather Service says Friday's rainfall set an all-time record at JFK Airport with more than 8 inches in a single day. For Arizona, dry weather is the norm, but this year has been a record one. 2023 is now officially the driest monsoon season on record. Elaine Dow spoke to local residents about the lack of rain.
A nice sunny day at Tempe Beach Park with not a cloud in sight on the last day of monsoon 2023.
A lot of folks kept saying that the monsoons are coming, and I'm like, where are the monsoons at?
Many are wondering the same thing.
Really disappointing. I always look forward to it.
This year, I didn't see as much as last year.
This year is the driest monsoon on record. The previous record was set back in 1924 when we measured 0.35 inches of rain that season. The National Weather Service says Phoenix received 0.15 inches of rain this monsoon. Looking at this graph, it is well below our average rainfall of 0.241 inches.
Right now, I'm just thankful for great weather, honestly, and hopeful that we do get some rain. Because Arizona needs it, that's for sure.
We did see some strong storms sweep through the valley, a few dust storms that also pushed back a college football game, and some microbursts that left behind some destruction at Falcon Field and damaging schools. But the lack of storms did not help with the excessively hot summer we had.
It's just really hot outside, especially since it's the end of September.
Luckily, though, it will start cooling down.
Go!
As many are enjoying at least the low 100s or upper 90s instead of the 110s we endured.
Make it through that time. It's worth it. Well worth it.
And if you're not from the desert Southwest, you may not be familiar or as familiar with what a monsoon storm actually is. To get a better understanding of monsoons, we turn to meteorologist Lindsay Storrs.
Monsoon season is when a ridge of high pressure sets up near the Four Corners region. You get a clockwise flow around high pressure, and that clockwise flow taps into tropical moisture down here off the coast of Baja California and yanks it right up into Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. And the result, as you can see here on the satellite and radar, is some pretty big thunderstorms. We call these monsoon thunderstorms. So let me explain how these monsoon thunderstorms form. So we've got our land here. This is the desert Southwest with all that moisture being poured into it. Very, very high water vapor in the atmosphere. Then we heat it up with our intense July and August sunshine. And when you heat up an air mass, it becomes less dense, which allows it to rise. So with all that water vapor rising in the atmosphere, it cools, it condenses, and you get these thunderstorms that pop up each afternoon and evening right during the peak heating of the day. That's what happens every summer in the desert Southwest.
And if you're looking for more content like this, be sure to follow us on social media. We have a lot more from our team of meteorologists across the country. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. Salt water from the Gulf of Mexico is still creeping up the Mississippi River, threatening the drinking water supply in New Orleans. Right now, the Army Corps of Engineers expects the salt water to reach the Big Easy in 3 weeks. This is happening because of the drought in the Mississippi River Valley. Officials are scrambling to install machines that will remove the salt from the water and build a pipeline to bring water from the river further upstream. More than 100 100 river dolphins have been found dead in the Brazilian Amazon over the last week. This is not normal, folks, and is being blamed on a historic drought along with record high water temperatures. Researchers are trying to bring some dolphins to safety by moving them from lagoons and ponds on the outskirts of the river to the main river body where the water is actually cooler. The Amazon is currently in its dry season. And we continue to see effects from Hurricane Idalia in the form of misplaced birds. The storm blew flamingos off course and into at least 8 states, including this one seen on the Santee Coastal Reserve in South Carolina. Now, some of these birds have been seen as far north as Wisconsin, which is a rare treat, really, for both of these states. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at why some parts of the country will need to wait a few more weeks to see their leaves start to change colors, and why it might be a little harder to find a Christmas tree this year. But before we head to break, we take flight over the lake of clouds in Michigan.
Well, this beautiful stretch of weather will continue across the Northeast as we head through the day today. We're looking at mainly sunny skies, temperatures running in the 70s to near 80 degrees. And then Tuesday looks even warmer across the Northeast. We're looking at temperatures that will run in the low to mid 80s possibly across the area. And this, again, dry stretch of weather will continue for quite a while. Let's get a look at the high temperatures. We're looking at temperatures in the 70s for most areas, could top out in the 80s in some spots inland.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. A nice start to the morning, temperatures in the 50s and 60s. And how about this during the afternoon? Almost a kind of summer holdover without the humidity. Up near 80 degrees, getting some nice payback for all the nasty weather that we had just several days ago as Ophelia was meandering around. And looks like the nice weather stays all the way into Monday evening, as well as our latest weather maker. Fair weather high pressure keeps us in gorgeous weather next few days. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. It looks like we are seeing in Atlanta 83 degrees, 89 in Mobile, 90 in Tupelo. It's a hot one in the Mississippi Delta compared to 83 in Raleigh. Looking at plenty of sunshine, dry conditions in Jacksonville at 84 degrees, 85 West Palm. It looks like we have high pressure over the southeast portion of the country, allowing for a lot of areas to get plenty of sunshine around Raleigh and Atlanta. But there's a stationary front still kind of parked in South Florida that's going to give them showers and thunderstorms.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
The return of fall means the return of pumpkin patches, and in California, an extra wet winter is leading to a better pumpkin season than normal. Sham Chimente has the story.
Nash Ranch, a true symbol of fall in Shasta County. And in the 33 years that this pumpkin patch has been open to the public, this is clearly the biggest harvest that they've ever had. That's why I'm sitting on a pumpkin.
Well, it's by far our biggest by acreage. We've never had anything quite this big. In fact, behind us, we've actually removed our entire parking lot to make more room for more pumpkins. So it's really, in the last few years, has grown exponentially, which is great.
The damaging drought years are a thing of the past. Now, Nash Ranch is ready to squash their previous success.
Last year was our best year ever up until that point. So this year we're hoping for the same thing, just better every year, getting bigger, having more people.
Ranch life is not easy. It's around-the-clock work, year-round. For Lewis, whose grandfather began building Nash Ranch in 1953, the payoff is, well, it's all around them.
It's really a family-run operation. It really is just us out here alone. 11 months of the year, basically, and so you never know how it's going to turn out. You have to put in all this work and all this time and money just on blind faith that it's going to go well. So to look out behind us and see a really beautiful crop with a really beautiful canopy and the weather's shaping up real nice, it feels good.
Well, while some parts of the country are already seeing brilliant fall colors, it's a different story in Central Texas. Chicago Windler from our Austin station has a look at factors affecting fall foliage.
Last year, trees in Central Texas put on an unexpected show. This year, there are a lot of factors that are involved in whether we get a repeat.
I've got one oak tree that's so stressed it's already dropped most of its leaves.
Greg Roberts is originally from Kentucky. He knows a good fall when he sees one.
You get the reds and the yellows and everything.
Here at Redbud Isle in Austin, don't be fooled into thinking autumn's the reason for brown leaves and bare trees.
There's just a lot of this. Some of it's drought related, some of it is heat related. We had such a hot summer on top of being a dry summer that these trees just have trouble standing up to that sort of stress.
Jonathan Motsinger from the Texas A&M Forest Service says there's also the cumulative effect from last winter's ice storm.
And eventually the tree gets to a point where it can't take any more and it turns into something like this.
This tree and several others here are dead. Some others are just trying to survive.
These leaves are brown and crispy. They're not a color that they normally turn. Plus, this is a live oak. Live oaks don't normally turn colors. They stay green throughout the winter.
For trees that usually change color, cool nights and plenty of rain are the keys, with green chlorophyll breaking down and getting stored for the winter.
So then we're seeing those carotenoids, the anthocyanins, the yellows, the reds, the purples. Those are revealed because they're no longer being masked by the greens.
This year, some trees are skipping that usual process and going straight from green to brown. We've already been hotter and drier for longer than last year, but there is rain in the forecast.
Trees are unpredictable. They like to surprise us and they like to prove us wrong. So who knows? We'll wait and find out.
And if you try hard, you can at least appreciate the different shades of brown.
It's beautiful when it happens here. You just don't know with the heat if it's going to happen or not.
Patiently waiting for fall in Austin, I'm Chicago Windler for the National Weather Desk.
And Maine's unusual summer weather is affecting the fall leaves as well. Meteorologist Emily Santom has an updated fall forecast for the state.
This is a look at the average peak dates for different regions of the state. By this time last year, most of northern and northwestern Maine would have been approaching peak foliage. This time around, though, folks will have to hang on for just a couple more days. The abnormal amount of water also stretches out the peak and turning period, which is why some of you were seeing some leaves begin to change as early as August. Over the next week or so, air temperatures are set to warm up into the upper 70s and even low 80s. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Forest Service says that if temperatures are too warm in the fall season, the brightness of leaves will likely be reduced. Leaves need sunny days and cooler, not freezing nights. In other words, 70-degree days and 40-degree nights will do just the trick.
And Christmas is less than 90 days away, and some will soon start the search for the perfect Christmas tree. So how has unusual weather affected this year's crop? Meteorologist Heather Burka has more.
Michigan ranks third in the United States for Christmas tree production with more than 36,000 acres of tree farms. And Robinson Family Christmas Tree Farm in Grand Traverse County is one of those.
It's a year-round project.
And that year-round project has to deal with year-round issues like the prolonged drought conditions this summer.
The drought that we had early on in the summer affected the seedlings that we planted in the spring, of course. We don't irrigate here, so we rely on Mother Nature quite a bit. We do carry a little bit of water out to some of the trees to help them, but we did lose several seedlings. It didn't really affect the larger trees. It did a little bit on the length of the new growth.
On top of the lack of rainfall, the animals like to destroy the Christmas trees.
We've had a problem with the bucks this year and the last couple of years. We've probably lost about 30 trees this year already. I don't have fenced in property here, and that's part of the problem.
This is what the trees look like when the bucks have torn through the farm.
They seem to like the smaller trees in the 3 to 4 foot range. Just when they start get going and they come in and they'll ruin a side on them. The tall trees, they don't seem to bother.
Robinson says they will let these damaged trees grow to be turned into wreaths or table decorations.
Not huge price increases this year, but we're seeing a little bit of a increase probably in the wholesale cost.
We still have some time before we see Christmas-like temperatures, but we are at the point where some parts of the country will start to see, morning frost. And if you want to protect your outdoor plants, it's important to look at how frost forms. For that, we turn to meteorologist Marshall McPeak.
We're getting to that point where it is frost season. And so if you're going to protect the plants, you need to know when the frost is going to arrive. And it takes a few ingredients for that to happen. We need temperatures that are 36 degrees or colder, mainly a clear sky. The more clear, the better, because we radiate away some heat. Little to no breeze. We don't want to mix it up very much in the atmosphere. And a little bit of humidity helps. So you've got something to collect and then freeze on the grass. But 36 degrees, you say? Well, that's because when we measure 36 degrees, it's usually at about 6 feet. So at 36 degrees, 6 feet up, it tends to be pretty close to 32 degrees at the surface. So when you get to that 32 degree mark, you've got a little bit of humidity and it starts to condense on the surfaces. You end up with some patchy frost around the area. And of course, if it gets even colder, you can get down to a killing frost that ends the growing season and is also very helpful for your allergies. So anytime this season you start to see 36 degrees, it means there's a pretty good chance you're likely to see some patchy frost in the area.
And time now for a short break, but first we take in views of beautiful Alaska from above.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. We're going to have a really strong cold front coming across the Midwest this week. So out ahead of it, beautiful, warm temperatures. We're getting into the 90s or the 80s pretty much all across the Midwest. Notice that Bismarck, though, much cooler, 71. And as we head into the day tomorrow, that rain slowly moving its way a little bit more into the Midwest. Much cooler across the plains on Wednesday, but still warm across the Ohio Valley.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region, and we're going to be watching a few showers and thunderstorms from South Texas into West Texas and eastern New Mexico. A few of these across West Texas and eastern New Mexico could be on the strong to severe side. Temperature-wise, most of us in the 80s and 90s, so still feeling like summer. Watch a few showers and storms overnight as well into your Tuesday and staying on the warm side. Temperatures on Tuesday afternoon back in the 80s and 90s with those isolated rain chances.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We have 10 to 20 degrees below normal temperatures pushing into parts of the Intermountain West. We're also seeing those cool temperatures work their way down into Arizona and New Mexico, where a strong winter storm has brought cold air and is spawning thunderstorms across the Rockies. And we're also getting a new cold front for another round of rain in the morning for parts of the Pacific Northwest. That is the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Fall is officially underway. Let's take a look at a recent TikTok post from meteorologist Natalie Walters for a test of your autumn weather wit.
The first question is true or false. Fall begins at the same time every year. That is false. Sometimes fall is on September 22nd, the 23rd. Very rarely it would be on the 21st or the 24th, but it all depends on when the sun's rays move directly over the equator. Second question, what does the Latin word equinox mean? Equinox means equal nights. Next question, if it is fall in the northern hemisphere, what season is it in the southern hemisphere? The southern hemisphere is about to begin the season of spring, the vernal equinox. Next question is true or false? Fall is the best season. All right, that's just my opinion, but to me, fall is the best season. So I hope you guys all have a happy fall.
And if you're looking for more content like this, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. We'll be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to Maine to check in on their pumpkin crop. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Monday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.